Hi friends, and welcome back to your crafty place. Today we are going to work on the day 4 of the 2025 Spellbinders Craftoween box. There's books and candles and pumpkins on the front, but inside it is a ghost with a piece of pizza, a pumpkin, and a kitty cat over here. So I have already cut a lot of these pieces out so that we can make multiples of them here. I didn't want you to have to wait for me. I will explain some of the pieces though. This pumpkin is the back part of the pumpkin. This piece here is the very bottom crust part of the pizza. This piece here is the red part that you see there with like the pepperonis. And then this part here is the actual dripping cheese part. So those are the only ones that are a little bit which one is which. So if you cut both of these out in brown, you could do black if you want to have burnt pizza, but if you cut both of these out in brown, then you can use them as the back of the pumpkin here, the stem of the pumpkin, and then the back part of the pizza. This is cut out in, could be cut out in black. I cut this and this out in black, the kitty cat, and this out in black. So we are going to put them together. This is what the ghost will look like. So this piece here is this part here of the ghost. You can see on the back he doesn't cover all the way. I did cut a piece of this out because I wasn't sure what it was at first in the black. I used that for his eyes there. It didn't cover his mouth, but it did cover his eyes. And then the boo I cut out in the orange. I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. The ghost is the white. Here is the cat holding the pizza instead of the pumpkin holding the pizza there, and I just put a piece of orange behind the kitty cat's eyes. And then there is the pumpkin out of the black. I had one out of the brown, but I don't know what I did with it, but that's what we're going to do today is the brown. So that's what those pieces are, so you have an idea of what we are going for. So I'm going to stick this to the side and we're going to put one together. I'm also going to get my distress ink out, my template vintage photo, because I want to do a little bit of distressing to the cheese part of the pizza and possibly one of the ghost and maybe the pumpkin, but we'll see. So we're going to start here with the gray part of the ghost. It just kind of lines up here on the sides and on the bottom. And you wouldn't have to do this if you didn't want to. I mean, if you stuck them down on a piece of paper without the background on there, I think you would be fine. But I am going to go ahead and do that. I am going to glue my ghost, because if I glue this, I could have a lot of glue in this area and I don't need it there. So I'm just going to glue on the actual ghost. And I may have gone up too high or I may not have gone up high enough, but it'll be okay. And then, like I said, I'm just going to try and line it up on the sides here. Get it lined up along the bottom. It should line up along the bottom there and along the sides. So there is the ghost. And then it's time for the pizza. I am going to get my pick tool here to get one of each of these. The red that I used is white on the back. So there is that. There's that. And there's that. So that's kind of how they line up. So this is your bottom piece, this is your second layer, and this is your top layer. I'm going to just touch the top layer with just a little bit of my vintage photo distress ink here, just to make it look like it's pizza that I have browned. And I got a scrapbook.com chamois, which the feel of this chamois is so much softer than the other chamois that I've had. We'll see if it holds up, but it does come in a bag that you can slide it down in, which is nice, and it does keep it wet. So I am going to now use my reverse tweezer. Sorry, I should have gotten this stuff out ahead of time. And I'm going to glue the back part of the red so that I can attach it down. So there's a pointy piece and then a flat piece up here. And then there's a pointy piece and sort of a flat piece up here. The pointy pieces you want to match. You're not you're not concerned about the flat pieces matching, because this part up here is the crust of the pizza. So you're just trying to get the pointy pieces, and really the red, not a lot of the red is going to show because we're going to put the cheese over the top of it. So it doesn't have to be lined up perfectly, but that is what, that is what that should look like. So you've got your pointy pieces here that kind of match up, and then you've got the flat part up there that's actually the crust, the top part of the crust. So now it's time for the cheese. The drippy parts here won't be attached to the pizza, so don't put glue on those, because then you'll just have glue on other stuff. But again, it's kind of the same way. You have a pointy piece and then you kind of have sort of a flat piece. Focus on that pointy piece to get it down on the pizza first. And then the flat piece kind of lines up with the red piece up there at the top. Again, it doesn't cover all the way up to that brown piece, because that brown piece, that brown piece is actually the part of the pizza. So there is that. That glue will dry clear and you won't be able to see it. So we now have the piece of pizza done. So next we're going to work on the pumpkin. Here's the base of the pumpkin. Here's the front of the pumpkin. I am going to, on one side of the pumpkin, just ink it up just a little bit to give it a little bit more darkness. You can see there where I inked up one side. The other side is not dark at all. I'm gonna grab the chamois here and clean up my inky mess so I don't get it on anything else. And then I'm going to use the glue again. A little sparkle on there, I'm not sure where that's from. And the pumpkin, kind of like the other ones, there is a front and a back. You can kind of see how it looks different on the back a little bit there. In my case, it looks a little rougher because my plates are so rough, but it helps me tell which one's the front and which one's the back. There is the pumpkin. The kitty cat really doesn't have anything unless you want to put eyes behind it, because his little eyes do pop out. So the kitty cat is fine if you just want to leave the kitty cat that way. It really depends on what paper you're putting it down on. And then I did not cut out the pieces that go on here. So let me cut that out really quick and then I will be right back. Okay, so all of these pieces do fit in the Tim Holtz Sidekick. They would fit in the Scout or the smaller, any of the smaller ones, but see how my plates are, they're kind of dirty on both sides. That's why it looks a little rougher. So I'm just going to stick this little guy down. Mine are also warped just slightly. So when I go to pick it up, my die cut always slides. So I'm just going to tape it just a little tiny bit there in the corner. And then I'm going to run it through and then run it back through, just so that I don't have to go all the way through. And then there are our cut pieces. So I'm going to put that on the top, get my pokey tool here, and poke. You could drop it. Sometimes that'll cause them to pop out, or there's holes in the back here where you can poke them out. So there is that. I'm going to set that in there right now and move this out of the way. And then we are going to glue these guys down. So here is our flag. There's the bee. Hi, sweetie. What you doing? I don't think the O's have a particular one they have to go on. If they do, I didn't notice. I just put one on each and they seem to work fairly well. And then how you put them together is completely up to you. If you want to have the ghost holding the boo like I have it holding, in the picture they have them holding the piece of pizza. You could have the cat jumping at them. if you wanted to. You could have them have the pumpkin in one hand and the pizza in the other hand, however you wanted to do it. I am going to use a purple piece, I think, of background to kind of layer some of my ghost on, and then a black card base, and we'll put a white piece on the inside. So I am going to, I think, make a little texture with this without any kind of embossing folder. I'm just going to grab my scoreboard here, set this down in here, and then I'm going to grab, you can use the score tool that came with it, or I'm just going to grab this little stylus thing that I got from Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to do lines. I'm going to do some every quarter, and then I'm going to jump into a half. And then I'll do a quarter, and then I'll jump into a half. And then I'll do a quarter. Oops, that wasn't quite a half, was it? That's okay. We're just trying to add some texture, so it doesn't really matter how much you space them apart, or if you do the same on all of them. Just trying to add a little bit of texture to the background. And then, just because it's Halloween, I'm going to use the distressed inked vintage photo again, and just kind of go across them a little bit. Just to give it a little bit. You can't really tell too terribly much, but you can see a little bit of the brown there. And this is a slicker paper, so it could smear a little bit for a while, so just be mindful of that. I'll clean up my mess here. And then I'm going to, this is one that I already made, and this is the one that we made today, and you can see the difference in the, I didn't put black behind this one, but I did that one. So if we wanted to put black, we could just take our scissors and cut a little piece of black, and that's probably way too big, but I'm gonna round this up here just a little bit. I'm just gonna take it and round it, and now I think it'll be okay. But again, I'm going to glue on the back here so that I don't get it in the eye locations. And then I'm just going to glue that down. And then when you turn it over, you can see the black on the front. So let's do a little bit of yellow maybe behind the cat's eyes this time. What do you think that's going to look like? I think that'll be okay. So I'm just going to trim off just a little bit here. Don't think it needs to be that pointy. Let's see if that's enough. I think we can make that work, but I'm going to again glue behind the kitty cat just so that I don't have it all over the yellow where I don't need it. I grab that with my tweezers. And there we go. Now the kitty cat has some yellow eyes. So I'm going to use the black pumpkin and the brown pumpkin that I have. I'm going to stick both of those on here, like so. I'm going to have this kitty cat down here. I think I am going to go ahead and I think I'll just give this ghost this time the pizza. So I just put a little bit of glue on his hand there, and I'm just going to put the pizza down on his hand. And then I'm going to, now that I know where it ends, put a little bit more glue right there to get down the tip of the pizza, just so that if it gets caught on something, it won't be a big deal. And then we'll put the kitty cat up there in the corner as well, and then we'll get the card base on there. So you could pop these up if you wanted to. You don't have to. I'm not going to this time. We've used kind of minimal supplies this time, so I kind of want to keep it that way so that we don't have to have a ton. So there's that one. I'm going to go ahead and put this one down. Add the kitty cat here. The kitty cat is another one of those things, as is the piece of pizza, that you could do a lot of different holidays with, because if you just didn't do the cat in black, you could do them in a lot of different colors, and you could have them laying on a bed or in a chair, or, you know, on in the sun. And the banner here you could also use, because if you cut the banner out, you could easily stamp in smaller letters anything you wanted on there. Or you could handwrite if you had decent handwriting. I don't necessarily have decent handwriting, but we're going to stick him kind of at an angle here. And we are not going to use this boo, I don't think, because we have the one boo on there. We'll just leave this one kind of off. And then we still have the pumpkins, which I think instead of putting them down there in the corners, I think I'm going to cascade them down like this. And then we still have to do the sentiment. I'm going to go ahead though and stick this on here like that. And this one does have a sentiment that kind of goes with it. Pumpkin's coming up there, didn't push it down enough. There is that. And then, like I said, there is a sentiment. I'm sorry, I should have taken the stamp set out. There is this sentiment that says, I want a piece of you, to go with the pizza. But you could do, you know, cheers to spooky sips. You could do have a treat-filled night. You could do any of these. Have a hauntingly good time would fit great right down there along the bottom. But I'm gonna do the I wanna pizza you. And I think it'll fit on this one. This is one that I cut out from an earlier video of some, it was a set of die cuts from Amazon. I'm not thrilled with it just because it looks like it should all fit and you should be able to stamp them all and then cut them all out, but you can't. And now when I went back and looked at the Amazon picture, you can see that they're opposites and that they won't, but they made it seem or appear as though you could, but you cannot unless you rearrange them, and I tried to rearrange them. So I'm going to stick this one on here. And then I'm going to stamp it with this just to see. It's the Cloud 9 Lisa Horton Pumpkin Spice Shimmer, but I may go back over it with black if I don't like it. So we're gonna try here. And I got that from a scrapbook store in Branson, Missouri. Don't remember the name of it. I'll look up the name and stick it down there. I don't know that they ship though. So, but if you're visiting Branson, it is on the 76 strip, so worth stopping by. They have a lot of stuff crammed into their little area there. And lots of ideas hanging up all over their walls too, which was fun. What's left on my sponge dauber here with the Distress ink. I'm not gonna get any more, I'm just gonna use what I got there. And then my kitty cat's arm sticks up a little bit because he's over the top of the pizza, so not an issue there. And then let's see, where do I want to stick him? I think I'll stick it over in this corner. And I'm just gonna, again, put it down on here so that we don't have a lot of dimension. And then the last thing that we have to do is take a piece of copy paper. I don't use cardstock, I just use copy paper. And then I'm going to cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. So we're gonna start this way. We're gonna do the 5 1/4 by 4. And then that's what we will do on the inside here so that you can actually write on it. I only put glue right on the outside edge. I don't do it in the center, just because this particular glue doesn't leave big lumps when you spread it out, but some of the other glue that I've used in the past does, and so it's kind of weird to write on. So if you just do it around the edge, that's really all you need anyway. And then if you wanted to, you could add some more in here. I could put this boo in here. Since we made it, let's go ahead and do that. Just gonna add a little dab of glue here. Just gonna try and make sure that the strings of the banner have a little bit of glue so that they do stay down, and then just kind of touch them off to the sides there. So there is the card. So we are going to work on a box now, and I have this old paper pad. I'm not even sure where it's from. It's Cloud 9 Designs. It is 4.5 by 7 1/4 inch photo mats, but it's got Halloween and Christmas and fall. So we are going to use this one. I want one that's not really directional because of the way we're going to be working with it, but I'm going to tear this one out here because it's not directional at all. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer here. This is the larger one. And I want a piece that is 5 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to get it in the 5 and then go by 4 1/4. And then I'm going to get the scoreboard out. And just to make it easier, I'm going to score on the back side. On the 4 1/4 inch side, we are going to score at 3/8 and then 3/4. I'm gonna turn it around just so that it's easier. And we're gonna score it again at the 3/8 and the 3/4. And then I'm gonna turn it on the 5 inch side and score it at 1.5 inches, 2 1/4, 3 3/4, and then 4 1/2. And that's all the scoring we're going to do. Then we are going to, I'm going to get a pen here so I can show you. Then we are going to cut all of this off and all of this off up to that first score line there. So I'm going to go at a little bit of an angle here, and then I'm going to go all the way down. You could use your paper trimmer if you wanted to. Stay around that line. It doesn't have to be perfectly on that line. And then the same thing over here. We're going to cut a little bit of an angle, and then I'm going to cut down that line all the way. So those are the two pieces that we're getting rid of on either side. And that's kind of crooked there. It doesn't really matter too terribly much. Now we're going to cut in on each of these score lines. So I'm going to, down here, I'm going to finish cutting in. And when we go to fold later, we're not actually going to fold this one or this one. We're going to fold just here. I'll show you that in just a minute. But we're going to go ahead and trim that down. I'm gonna go ahead and move the scoreboard just so that it's not in the way. And then we're going to continue to cut here, all of these. And then when I get up here, I'm just going to cut at an angle and go all the way up. Cut at an angle and went all the way up. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but you want this part up here is going to tuck in. So you want it to be, you want there to be some angle there. Otherwise it's going to be a tight fit and it may not fit very well. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side now. We're going to cut at an angle. And cutting at an angle just makes it so that if you don't cut perfectly, your edges of your fold there won't fold over onto the other piece, so you'll have a crisp thing, a crisp closure. And then again, I'm going to cut at an angle from this one all the way up. So we're just gonna go like this and cut all the way up. Doesn't really matter, again, if you want to measure it or if you want to draw it out, or cut one side and then fold it over onto the other side, you can do that. So now I'm going to use my bone folder here and just crease all these lines. And then I'm going to crease all these along the side as well. I'm going to bring those in. And again, down here, we scored over here, but we're not going to fold that one. We're going to come all the way over and just fold it all the way in. Down here, we're going to fold this one all the way in. And then I'm going to grab some tear and tape here with some double-sided tape. I'm going to use glue too, but this will help it hold immediately. And I'm just going to put a little bit of tape on each of these two flaps on either side. Don't put it on the top one, because the top one is how you're going to be opening and closing. I've lost my end. Yes. There's that. Burnish them down really well, and then peel the backer part off of the tape. And again, it doesn't have to be a very big piece. This is just so that we have an instant hold, so the glue has a moment to grab. The glue will hold longer than some of the double-sided tape will. So now I'm going to take my glue and glue in the same area. So I'm going to glue here, and I'm going to glue here, and then on this side as well. And then I'm going to fold it up and up. So this one's going to fold up, this one's going to fold up, and then these are going to fold in. So you want to make sure your back of your box is staying even with the side flap there. And then on this side, same thing. We're going to make sure that back of your box stays even with the flap there, or close to even with the flap. And then this will actually fold down in like that, and that closes your box. So now you have a box. I think I'm a little off on this side, but we'll be okay. Once you put your decorations on there, you won't notice it too much. It's gluing down, so we're going to leave it there. So this box will fit like a Snickers bar, or a Three Musketeers bar, anything like that, it'll fit in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the ghost here. These are the ones with the gray back. I did do the other one with a purple back, but I'm just going to glue these both on the front. I think I may only do one. I may just do one on the front. And I'm just going to glue everything but the arms, because the arms kind of hang over the edge. Just gonna stick it down on here, and then I'm gonna kind of put my hands inside here and push down on it so that you could also turn it over like this and use your bone folder to burnish it. If you wanted to use tape or something else, you could do that too. There's that. And then we have the boo that we could put in his hands, so that gave a little decoration there. I'm worried more about the strings than I am anything else. I'll just do a little dab of glue on each of the banner pieces. And then I'm going to line that up. Put my fingers in the, whoops, put my fingers in the box again to hold it. Once I get glue on my fingers, sometimes things stick to my fingers more than they stick to the box, so just be mindful of that when you're using liquid glue. And then that now closes, and they kind of stick off the sides. You could cut those off if you didn't like them sticking off the sides there. You can see it right there and right here just a little bit. But then we have the pumpkins and the pizza, so we could put, you know, the pumpkins on here. We could put the pumpkins on the side here to decorate it a little more. So we can go ahead and do that. Put a pumpkin on here. Oops, he's a little off center there. And then let's go ahead and put another pumpkin down here. And then if we wanted to put another ghost on the back, we could put another ghost back here on the back. Or we could do just a cat back here on the back, and the pizza if we wanted to, or you can just leave it blank. But again, it fits like a Snickers bar or a Three Musketeers bar. It would probably fit some smaller thread if you had people that like to sew or quilt. You could fit that in there. There's probably lots of different things that you could fit inside the little box. Even though it's small, you can put quite a bit in it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We've got the little box that we made, and then we have the card that we made as well. Get this stuff up so you can see it. And then I have a few extra pieces with another gray ghost and the purple down there at the bottom, and then I still have another Boo, another couple of the kitty cats, and then the pizza pieces that we could use. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.